My dear students, now I will start the another unit, unit 4. This particular one topic name is axisymmetric element. Earlier cases we discussed about the first 1 to 3 elements. Generally we discussed about the only one dimensional element. Last unit, that is the third unit, we discussed the two-dimensional element. That too, we studied about the simplex or simple triangle element. Is it okay? Now we are discussing the one more type of element, that is the axisymmetric element. Generally, when we use this particular element, in its name itself, it representing axis symmetric element. Axis symmetric, that is while you studied the engineering drawing subject, actually we studied about the different types of solids. One type of solids is the solids of revolutions are there. In solids of revolutions we studied about like cylinder, cone, sphere and so on. Why? Because if you are observing the cylinder, cone, sphere, these type of solids, how we are generating these type of solids? Suppose if you take a one rectangular lamina, if you rotate that rectangular lamina about any one of the longer edge sides with a 360 degrees, the generated solid object we call as the cylinder. Is it right? In the same manner, if you take a one rectangular triangle about one of its longer edge side, if you take a one complete revolution, the generated solid object we call as the cone. In the same manner, if you rotate a one semicircular lamina about the radial line with 360 degrees, the generated solid object we call as the sphere. Is it right? That is these three types of solids, how we are generating? By rotating. That's why these solids we call as the solids of revolution. And if you are observing these three solids are symmetry about its axis. Symmetry about its axis. So we can call this one is the axisymmetric solids. Okay. Solid. Actually, previous classes also we discussed some of the structural elements. While you are solving the structural problems based on the type of case, we selected one time only one dimensional 1 degree freedom of element. Certain cases we selected the one dimensional 2 degrees of freedom element, and certain cases we selected the two dimensional elements like that. On which case we select? Suppose bar element, we select a one dimensional 1 degree freedom element. Bar, is it a one dimensional element? Actually no, it is a three dimensional element, but when compared to its length, its diameter or thickness values are very less. That's why we will treat it as a one dimensional element. And while you are solving the truss type of problem, at that time the deformation it takes in the both x and y directions. That's why we treat it as one dimensional 2 degrees of freedom elements or beam type of problems also. In last chapter we studied about the two-dimensional simple element, that is the triangle element. In that particular case, that is especially plane stress type of problems or plane strain type of problems, we selected the simple triangle element. But now we are studying the one more element, that is the axisymmetric element. What is its important? That is here one dimensional case. When we are comparing one of the longest dimensional value with the other remaining two dimensions, the remaining two dimensions are very negligible or less values. That's why we consider as one dimensional. Two dimensional case also, when we are comparing the length and breadth value, its thickness is very small. We are neglecting the thickness. That's why we selected the two dimensional elements. In three dimensional case, actually in all sides it is having a proper dimensions. We will not at all neglect any dimension. We should consider all the dimensions and we will take as it is. But here axisymmetric element, in which case we will use, that is actually your solid object is a, if your solid object is a symmetry about its axis, at that time we will consider the axisymmetric element. What type of element this one? Is it a one dimensional or a two dimensional or a three dimensional? Now we will discuss that thing. That is here, this element is a two dimensional only. No need to go to the three dimensional. Even your solid is a three dimensional, no need to select the three dimensional element. By selecting a simple 2D element, we can easily solve the problem with the help of axisymmetric element. That is the importance is there in this unit or in this topic. My dear students, we have to listen carefully this particular axisymmetric element, how we are using and what type of problems we are solving. We have to identify very carefully. That is, already in my notes also I mentioned some of the points. You have to study, go through the material. That is, some of the such axisymmetric solids are pressure vessels, cylinders, circular footings, restings, and soil mass, flywheels, etc. These type of problem cases we will choose the axisymmetric elements. Okay. Now observe here in this particular diagram. Now actually this is a cylinder type of one three-dimensional object, but I will treat, or but when I am solving this particular problem, I will consider a two-dimensional element only. I will not go to the three-dimensional object. Why, sir? Definitely you will get a certain doubt. Why? Because it is having a three dimension. Suppose if you consider a polar coordinate system, what is the polar coordinate system? Here r is there, definitely theta. With respect to theta, this dimension may be vary, and another axis is the z axis is there. Theta, theta means here 360 degrees it is revoluting. But here in this particular theta degrees, whenever the body is subjected to a uniform pressure or uniform load condition or attraction forces or any other type of forces, the induced deformations in all directions are same. That means no need to consider the theta. No need to consider the theta. In polar coordinate system, if there is no need to consider the theta, the remaining coordinates are, what are the remaining coordinates? If you consider the remaining coordinates, only r and z. r, r and z. That is here, once again your object becomes a two-dimensional element. Do you observe? So, I will ignore the theta and I will consider only the r and z. I will calculate the resultant deformations or respective stresses. Do you understand my point? No need to consider a three-dimensional object here. By considering a simple two-dimensional element only, we can easily solve the problem. That is the basic introduction. బాబు కొంచెం ఇక్కడ అర్థం అవుతుందా నేను చెప్పిన పాయింట్లన్నీ కూడాను? నువ్వు తీసుకోవాల్సింది త్రీ డైమెన్షనల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అయినప్పటికీ కూడా పోలార్ కోఆర్డినేట్ సిస్టంలో నువ్వు తీసుకుంటున్నప్పుడు ఆర్ థీటా జెడ్ ఉంటాయి. థీటా అనేది యాక్చువల్గా 360 డిగ్రీస్ మనం తీసుకుంటాము. అయితే థీటా తీసుకుంటున్న టైంలో సపోజ్ లోడ్ అనేది యూనిఫామ్గా కానీ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ అవుతూ లోడ్ ఏ డైరెక్షన్లో యాక్ట్ అవుతూ ఉన్నప్పుడు డిఫార్మేషన్స్ అన్నీ కూడా థీటా మీద డిపెండ్ అవ్వవు. కాబట్టి థీటాని మనం నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాము. థీటాని కన్సిడర్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేయటం కాదు కానీ కన్సిడర్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. థీటాని ఇంకా కన్సిడర్ చేయకపోతే ఇంకా రిమైనింగ్ మిగిలి ఉండే కోఆర్డినేట్స్ ఏంటయ్యా అంటే ఆరో జెడ్. అప్పుడు ఇదేమైపోతుందయ్యా అంటే 2D ప్లేన్ కిందకు వస్తుంది. ఈ పాయింట్ మీరు అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. నెక్స్ట్, కమింగ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ టాపిక్. Actually, here while you are taking a two-dimensional type of one, here how or what type of strains it takes place, what is the elasticity relations it consists, that thing also very important. That's why my next topic is the elasticity relations for axisymmetric element. What are the elasticity relations? So for deriving the elasticity relations, that is the strain with respect to the strains and stresses, what type of relations we are getting such type of things. Now we are discussing. Suppose this is the axisymmetric axis, that is z axis is there, z axis. About z axis, one circular cylinder is there. I will take a one small part in the circular cylinder. You may observe the previous diagram. That is just observe this particular diagram. From this diagram, I taken a one small part for analysis purpose. That particular part, its length value along the r direction is the dr, and along the z direction is the dz. At a distance of r, I select that particular element. Now here, suppose that if you consider the theta also, the theta is a very small degrees, d theta degrees I taken. So that's why the selected element arc length value here. I think you know that arc length relation. Arc length is equal to radius into angle. That is the radius, its distance is r is there, its angle is the d theta. That's why I taken this arc length value is the r d theta. Another end portion, here total length is the r plus dr into d theta. That is, here dA is the area. What is the area? Dr into dz. Okay, that is the area. Suppose this is the dV. dV is nothing but a volume. We have to consider the volume, 3 dimensions. Deform, that is the small part volume dV. Okay, so in this particular part, suppose this particular part is there. That particular part dimensions, now I will consider once again here. 4 corner points are the A, B, C, D. 4 corner points are there. Okay, that is before deformation, our 2-dimensional element is like this. Okay, after applying the certain amount of force or pressure, that body or that particular one is deformed into the deformed, and it occupies the new position as E, F, G, H. Okay, this is the new position, and our body also deformed to the some other shape. Initially it may be in somewhat a rectangle is there, now it is a somewhat a parallelogram. Okay, you have to remember this particular point. Now this A point is at a distance r from the z axis, and A point, it is located at a distance here here r from the z axis, and the element length is the dr is there. Okay, element length is the dr. Okay, next here, after taking the deformation, A occupies the new position as the E. Whenever it occupies the new position, deformation along the radial direction, that is the r direction, is the u. Okay, deformation along the axial direction, that is the z direction, that one is the w is there. In z direction, our element length is the dz. Here in radial direction, our element length is the dr. Earlier we discussed it here. Okay, the same thing. Now this point is occupy new position at a distance w. Okay, in the same manner, suppose E point, this is B, is occupied to the F. F, what is the deformation in radial direction? Here earlier u is there, u plus dou u by dou r into dr, the change of deformation. In the same manner, in vertical direction also, D occupy the new position H. In the direction, here earlier case W is there, W plus initial deformation plus dou W by dou Z into dZ, the deformation. Okay, that is in axial direction. This one is the radial direction. But this plane is taking deformation on the plane itself also. Not only one particular direction, it taking the deformation in shearing manner also. Shearing manner. Shearing manner means the total plane it may be taking the deformation. Not only the one particular direction, both the direction it is taking. That's why this D point is occupied to the H and B point is occupied to the F. While you are taking the deformation B to F in vertical direction, that is axial direction, earlier is the W is there, W plus dou W by dou R into dr. Why? Because this one is not I am taking dou W by dou Z into dz. Here I am taking dou W by dou R into dr. Why? Because this one is taking due to the deformation in radial direction. Okay. In the same manner, this whenever the D point occupy the new position to H, now the deformation I will consider the initial deformation U plus dou U by dou Z into dz. That is here deformation is taking in radial direction due to the axial. That's why U plus dou U by dou Z into dz. Shearing action is taking place here. Okay. Do you understand this particular diagram? So based on this one only, now we will derive the elasticity relations. Okay. While you are observing this particular diagram, that is the element length is the dr at a distance of r, and initially taking the u amount of deformation, later final deformation is the u plus dou u by dou r into dr. At that time, here the arc length is the, here actually r theta is there. Arc length is equal to radius into angle, that's why r theta. Here whenever it is taking the deformation up to u, at this particular point the deformation value is the circumferential deformation is the r plus u into d theta. Whenever you are considering the theta in polar coordinate system, theta means 360 degrees above the z-axis. That's why that one we will consider as a circumferential direction. If you consider the in this r-axis, that is a radius of the component. This is a solids of revolution objects. That's why I am considering this is the radial direction. If you consider the theta, that one will treat it as a circumferential direction. Next, z-axis. Actually, this is the axis of the solid objects. That's why this direction we call as the axial direction. Okay, you have to remember these particular directions. Based on these directions only, we will calculate the induced deformations or strains or stresses, etc. Okay, now we will derive the elasticity relations one by one, my dear students. Now first of all, we will discuss about the radial strain. What is the radial strain? Strain takes place in radial direction. I think you know the basic relation. Strain is nothing but a change in length by original length. That is, a change in length is nothing but a final length minus initial length divided by the original length. That is here final. That is, if you observe the in radial direction, this final length is taking the final elongation is the u plus dou u by dou r into dr is there, minus initial change in length is the u is there, divided by original length of the element in radial direction is the dr. Okay, this u term and the u term becomes cancelled. Remaining thing is the dou u by dou r into dr divided by dr. Dr also cancel. So here dou u by dou r we will get. The radial strain epsilon r is equal to, now we got a one relation, that is the dou u by dou r. Okay. Now next one, another one. The tangential or circumferential strain. Tangential or circumferential strain, that is epsilon theta. Here also use the same type of relation, change in length by original length. That is here, whenever taking the deformation, that final length value about its circumference is the r plus u into d theta, final length, minus initial arc length value is the r d theta divided by r d theta. Here this r d theta and this r d theta becomes cancelled. Next value is the u d theta by r d theta. D theta also cancel. Next one is the simply u by r. That is, the circumferential strain is nothing but a u by r. Theta is equal to just like a tan formula. Is it right? Tan theta is equal to opposite side by adjacent side. U by r. In the same manner, we are taking that particular one. Okay, u by r. Actually, u by r. Next one is the here axial strain. or longitudinal strain. Once again, we will use the change in length by original length. That is the change in length by original length means, just observe here, this AD side, it changes. This D point is changes to H. How much height is changes? Final height is W plus dou W by dou Z into dz. Initial height, how much height changes? This A point up with the E, that is W is there. Final change in length by final change in length, final elongation length minus initial elongation length divided by original length dz. So here, if you write the same relation in axial strain case, W plus dou W by dou Z into dz minus W by dz. W term W becomes cancel. Next dz also cancel. The remaining is the dou W by dou Z. This is the axial strain. Next one is the shear strain. Shear strain means this strain is taking along the plane, not one particular direction. That is not in only radial direction or not only in axial direction. It taking the deformation both R and Z plane. That's why here, if you observe the F point, this F point, this height value is taking both R and Z directions. This H point, this particular deformation U plus dou U by dou Z, this particular deformation also taking both R and Z directions, that is shearing direction. That's why here now I am considering final length minus initial elongation length divided by original length. That is, first of all, I am taking the in Z direction, U plus dou U by dou Z into dz minus U divided by dou Z dz. Okay. In the same manner, W plus dou W by dou R into dr minus W by dr. Here, this W, this U and this U term becomes cancelled. In this case, dz, this is not the dou Z, sorry, this is the dz, this is also dr term becomes cancelled. The remaining thing is the dou U by dou Z plus dou W by dou R. Dou U by dou Z plus dou W by dou R. These four relations are very important for the axisymmetric element. You may understand this derivation part or not, but you have to remember these formulas very carefully. Okay. So by using these relations only, we will calculate the change in length values or strain values, and another thing is the here we will calculate the induced stresses also. Okay, so that's why we have to identify these particular formulas. Now we derived these particular formulas, but for our easy understanding purpose or easy formation purpose, now we have to write in the form of matrices. That is, the strain is equal to epsilon is equal to, what is that one? Epsilon r radial strain, circumferential strain, axial strain, shear strain in RZ plane is equal to dou U by dou R, U by R, dou W by dou Z, dou U by dou Z plus dou W by dou R. You have to remember this particular relation. This is very important. In the same manner, if the strain is taking place in four directions, stresses also, induced stresses also takes place in the four directions. The four direction stresses are the radial direction stress, circumferential direction stress theta, axial direction Z, and a shear direction RZ plane. So we will calculate the induced stresses in four directions. Okay, so as per the Hooke's law, you know the basic relation, sigma is equal to D into epsilon. This D, it represents the constitutive matrix or stress strain relationship matrix. We will derive this particular one also. By using these particular relations, here we will solve the problem very easily with the help of the finite element method. Okay, now, and another thing, next topic, finite element modeling for axisymmetric solid. Suppose while that is, we know that a basic concept in finite element method, we have to discretize the continuum. That is the basic step. In first unit onwards, we are discussing this particular step. While you are discretizing the continuum in this particular axisymmetric solids, there is no need to take a three-dimensional element. You have to remember the basic important point. Next, what type of element you require? Earlier in third unit, whatever the elements we discussed is the same type of elements we can select here also. No need to go to the any other type of element. But here our element is a symmetry about the axis. That's why we call this one as a axisymmetric element. Do you understand my point? This element is a symmetry about the axis. That's why we call this one as a axisymmetric element. But actually, earlier in third unit, whatever the elements we studied or discussed, the same type of element you can select here also. That is this R plane is there, Z axis is there. Now I selected some certain types of triangular element, number of triangular elements. Okay, I discretized this particular continuum. I selected a simple triangle element only. Suppose if you want to select the quadrilateral type of element, you may select the quadrilateral element also. No need to go to the three-dimensional element. Okay, but here that is a earlier how we studied in the same manner here also studied. But while you are studying this particular elements, this is symmetry about the axis. While you are studying the symmetry about the axis, but one small difference you have to remember. Don't compare all the things in same manner. Some small difference is there. That is that small difference is the in earlier case we did not consider the circumferential manner, but here we will consider the circumferential also. That is that important thing is there. Okay. Now in this particular case, in polar coordinate system we are considering, in polar coordinate system theta is not affecting the deformations or induced stresses. That's why we will somewhat ignoring the theta, but while you are calculating the strains or stresses, circumferential strain or circumferential stress also we will calculate. That value is the small value. We will calculate that one also, but here we will treat it, this particular element is a simple two-dimensional element. If you observe this particular, just observe this is a one of the cone type of hollow cone type of solid element. I select a one small triangle simple element. Just observe here, node 1, node 2, node 3. This is the now this element, is it the axisymmetric element or not? Just observe. So this is the problem. In the same manner here also, suppose this is a hollow cylinder is there. I will select a one rectangular type of element. It consists of 4 number of nodal points. That is, rectangle means a quadrilateral element. One node 1, 2, 3, 4. This is element, is it symmetry about its axis or not? This is symmetry about its axis. So it is also axisymmetric element. But in this plane, what is the difference? Earlier case we considered the xy plane. Now we are considering the rz plane. That is the one of the basic important thing. Okay, my dear students, this is the basic concept. First of all, you concentrate once again. Go through my material. Try to understand. If you have any doubts, clarify. First of all, for clarification purpose, contact me in phone also. Definitely, I will clarify your doubts. Okay. Thank you.